Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kahakadash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my heavenly Father Yahweh and my heavenly big brother Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, Great Millstone, who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching this truth and none but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Bashim Awashai, trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and you speckled birds. And what is a speckled bird? That'd be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations, like for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, so-called Chinese person, etc., etc. Got some videos I got some videos lined up on what's going on in the world, and I'm gonna play these videos. I'm gonna get into the scripts my best ability, say whatever I gotta say through spirit and power. Yahweh by Shema Shah, the Holy Spirit, the Kurhak Vadash, Lord willing, be on me. Let's get it.
Anne-Marie, good to check in with you. We know it's later there. There's been a lot going on. I want to start with President Trump, listening to him this morning in the press conference, lauding his relationship with the host of those meetings. We're talking about President Erdogan of Turkey. Not a surprise. I guess what's more important, I think about, is the U.S. relationship with its other NATO allies, or its NATO allies.
Yeah, it's pretty weak. That nigga, all he does shit talking all them other NATO allies, and I thought he said he gonna pull away from NATO. I guess that was all talk.
What's been the mood? What have you been able to read into that?
Well, it hasn't been a great look for the other allies when the President of the United States recently said before this summit, Carol, that he was only going because of Erdogan. And then in that meeting with Erdogan, at the top of that bilateral meeting, he pretty much gave the green light for his intent to try to come to some form of agreement, which would have to go through.
Yeah, with Turkey. Because why? The small hatters, they're at war with them now. Now they're considered to be terrorists. Goodness gracious, them niggas is, everybody in that region is a fucking terrorist or a threat to them niggas. You know, they want their territory and shit, and whatever the hell else they want, but whatever.
Congress to get Turkey on the F-35 air defense system. Of course, they aren't on that system because years ago they bought the S-400s from Russia.
Oh, they want to buy some damn shit from America, I guess. Well, whatever.
There's a lot of legal challenges when it comes to this, but when the Turkish president heard the translation, he gave a thumbs up. So obviously something that...
But the funny thing, he doing deals with America, but ain't Israel already, well, not Israel, Amalek. Amalek is calling Turkey, calling Turkey goddamn terrorists and shit, trying to plot some shit to give them reason to go to war with them niggas, which is fucking madness. You can't beat Iran. What makes you think you could fight fucking Turkey? And Turkey considered to be pretty badass in NATO, but whatever.
That Ankara has really been pushing for, and potentially we could see some sort of movement on that at this summit. When it comes to the other allies in the NATO alliance, the president, of course, has been pushing them to step up defense spending. That was the key theme of last year as they tried to reach 5% of their GDP. And on the sidelines, we're seeing $50 billion worth of deals. I think it's interesting for some of the deals, you see actually some of these partners decide to go with Swedish Saab instead of American Boeing. But in other forms, you can still see.
Yeah, they in need of some daggone spending or some money to sell their damn shit.
Really the hold some American manufacturers and defense contractors have on the global stage, and they're going to have to stick with those U.S.-made parts. But they're going to need to be buying from everyone if they want to hit that target, at least when it comes to hardcore ammunition of 3.5%.
And you know, it's funny how they talk about war. They profit off of war. They can sell their merchants. People be selling merchandise and shit, like equipment and shit. It's not working so well. It's not looking, and it's not working so well for Babylon. Nobody don't want to buy that shit. It's garbage. It's like old, outdated garbage, and it's too expensive. And you know they got kill switches on them bitches.
When it comes to really the more
can't trust these damn American devils.
Tenuous
you can't trust none of these damn devils. But shit.
Topics being discussed between the NATO alliance within the United States in that context with the transatlantic alliance. It's going to be things like obviously Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There's a lot of countries here imploring the U.S. to do more when it comes to Patriot missiles. I spoke to the Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, who said it would be a welcome development if maybe there was a licensing agreement and they could produce those missiles inside that defense system inside Ukraine. And then, of course, the conflict in Iran. The president does not feel like the European allies have had their back for a critical international waterway that arguably Europe relies more heavily on. So those are going to be potentially two of the hot button issues when it comes to the topics discussed here at the forum.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about just how the U.S. allies are talking about the war in Iran, at least behind closed doors. Is there any vibe here that there is more tension among allies or more unity when it comes to that war?
More tension. Because eventually the beast's going to hate the whore. And it's like, that's what it's going to be. That's what's in the scriptures. And the beast will be EU or NATO. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's EU and NATO. Well, it's mostly EU. And the whore be America. And they're going to turn fire on America.
Well, I think it depends which ally you're talking about. When it comes to a country like Turkey, there has been a lot of discussion with the United States, and also a little bit of a fine line the U.S. is walking, because the Israeli prime minister definitely does not want to.
Yeah, he don't want them to be dealing with Turkey, because now the foreskin eaters consider them an enemy.
To see Erdogan get F-35s and does not want to see a closer relationship between the United States and Turkey.
Right.
When it comes to the Europeans, it's really country by country basis. At one point during this conflict, Spain barred the United States from using its airspace when conducting this conflict. So it really depends what country you're talking about, if they have even the ability. Do they have the hardware like a minesweeper to send to the Strait of Hormuz? Or is it also just, do they have the political will to do so?
Okay, I just bought these headphones that are...
President Trump meeting with Turkish President Erdogan ahead of the NATO summit in Turkey. Trump says he and Erdogan have a special relationship and they'll talk about trade, the military, and Iran. When asked about selling F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, the president says it's a decision he's going to make. Let's bring in ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers, there in Turkey, and foreign correspondent Britt Clennett, as well as ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy. Hi to you all. So, Karen, President Trump said he may not have come to the summit if Erdogan weren't hosting it. How do you expect Trump's frustration with some of these other NATO leaders to impact this summit?
Diane, we already saw him there expressing that frustration and also lavishing praise on Turkey's President Erdogan. He again said he would not have been coming to this NATO summit if not for that strong relationship and the close ties he has with Erdogan. And he was asked about the tensions between the United States and some of those NATO allies. And we've seen that on display in recent weeks and months. The president putting pressure on NATO to get involved with the war with Iran. That did not happen. Those countries did not give in to the pressure by the president. Greenland came up there at the end of it. The president earlier this year threatening to take Greenland, and NATO countries rallying around Greenland, and of course Denmark, a NATO country. And the president there saying how the United States has been contributing so much to the NATO alliance, and that now it should be Europe who is carrying the weight of protecting the European continent. Diane, that is going to be a big focus for the president. That is what senior officials have been saying coming into this summit, and already the president making very clear that is something he's going to be pushing those countries on. But he also has had tense relations with some of those individual leaders that he's going to be meeting with here. Notable that this first meeting, of course, with the host, Turkey's president, and tomorrow the sideline meetings he'll be having are not with European leaders, but Ukraine's President Zelensky and the Syrian President al-Shara. Diane?
Britt, how do you expect NATO leaders to respond to Trump's criticism?
Well, I think they are used to some degree of criticism when it comes to Trump's view on NATO, but they are squarely focused on trying to have a show of unity here, to show that the alliance is stronger than ever. And more broadly, NATO leaders, they are trying to use this summit to set the alliance's direction for the next decade, not just on Ukraine, although Ukraine was very much in focus there. We heard from Trump saying that Erdogan would help to resolve that war, but on defense spending, deterrence, emerging tech, China, they're talking about money, locking in higher defense spending, modernizing their forces, and making sure that a promise of an attack on one is an attack on all is still, it really means something, not just on the ground, not just on paper, but at the same time, they're widening the lens beyond Russia, looking at China, cyber threats, disinformation campaigns, even the security of things like undersea cables, energy supplies. So there's a big push on technology and industry, everything from AI and drones to simply producing enough ammunition and missiles so they're not caught short in future crisis. And underneath all of that is that political goal, show unity. With domestic politics, sometimes fractured in a lot of member states, the leaders want this summit to send a clear signal that NATO can still act together, reassure frontline allies, and really keep partners confident that the alliance is not drifting or divided. So you might see them underplay a lot of that criticism.
Mick, what do you think of this possibility that the U.S. could sell Turkey F-35 fighter jets?
So, Dan, the issue there was the S-400, which is a Russian air and missile defense system, and they essentially couldn't be in the same area because one could essentially exploit the vulnerabilities of ours, which is the...
I mean, Turkey buying shit from America, that's kind of risky because, like I said, they got kill switches. And then plus, Turkey supposed to turn against America and yeah, and then Turkey supposed to be away. I don't know. They're talking about pulling away from NATO too. I don't know. Anyway.
F-35. So there is a legal requirement that this can't happen unless things are adjusted and changed that make it acceptable. So if this
shit buying something from America, hell, you never know what could happen. Yeah.
Goes forward, then I think they have found a way to do that. It's sensitive, but that's likely what happened because there is a specific law that deals with this.
Karen, the war in Ukraine is at the top of the agenda at this summit.
All right, let's get to the next video. Fuck that shit.
Donald Trump just had a disastrous arrival to Ankara, Turkey for the NATO summit. The trip is falling apart already, and Donald Trump is physically falling apart. I'll show you what he looked like as he needed to be escorted and held by President Erdogan of Turkey as Donald Trump struggled to even walk when he arrived on the Qatari Air Force One. You can see these photos right here of President Erdogan of Turkey clutching Donald Trump's arm and guiding him along the tarmac at the Ankara airport upon his arrival. More photos over here. Donald Trump did not know what direction to even walk in. He was very confused, looked very sickly. He was making weird faces. I'll show you more of that in just a moment. You can see this photo right here of Donald Trump's top officials and cabinet members. You see Rubio looking like a deer in headlights over there. That's because Donald Trump unilaterally announced that he would be removing all sanctions against Turkey for Turkey's purchase of Russian defense systems. These were sanctions that Trump imposed on Turkey during the first Trump administration, and Rubio testified on June 3rd or so and said that those sanctions could not be removed. He testified under oath because it was a congressional authorization, and so Rubio was stunned when Donald Trump announced all sanctions against Turkey would be removed, and Donald Trump said he would be now clearing the way to sell F-35s because these sanctions were removed. I'll talk more about that in a moment, but let me just show you the footage over here so you can see for yourself. I think even state regime media Fox was stunned as Erdogan clutched a wandering Trump's arm to guide him around. Let's play this clip.
Told the Iranian leaders, whoever they are, I'm staying out of this. Right. And then they rocketed Turkey a couple of times. So now they said, and they said some negative things about the Turkish leader at the Ayatollah's funeral, the never-ending funeral he's on. So they said something negative about Turkey. So he kind of risked that alliance with the president.
Let's listen into this.
He just stopped briefly.
So then the meeting between Donald Trump and Erdogan began, and Donald Trump started saying that Greenland should be controlled by the United States, and this is why Donald Trump doesn't like NATO, because NATO betrayed him by not handing over Greenland to the United States. Now, mind you, we are at a NATO summit right here, and Donald Trump is directly threatening NATO, which is a violation requiring the invocation of Article 5 against Donald Trump, saying that he wants to steal Greenland, conquer Greenland, annex it, and that's why he despises NATO. He's saying this at a...
Oh, man, what the fuck?
Donald Trump just had a disastrous arrival. Donald Trump saying that he wants to steal Greenland, conquer Greenland, annex it, and that's why he despises NATO. He's saying this at a NATO summit. Let's play this clip.
Well, that's what hurt my relationship with NATO, because Greenland doesn't help Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States. And it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships. And that's not going to happen. The ships it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that, and it continues to be, that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money, we could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe. Because as you probably noticed, Europe's a very different place.
They already have been doing that shit. Removing it, and some of them been ordered to be removed from European countries. Some of them don't want to have U.S. soldiers there in their countries.
20 years ago, a lot different, much different. It's a much different, and they better be.
Yeah, and a lot of these niggas was being removed out of these European countries. These soldiers, they only being removed because they need them over there and to be what you say, sacrificial lambs for the Israel. I mean Amalek. Yeah, they pull them out of these other countries so they can put them in a fight for Amalek.
Be careful with immigration and energy. If they're not careful with those two things, you're not going to have a Europe anymore. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
And a reporter asks him, I think, a good question. Can you clarify what you meant when you posted on social media that you wanted to get a restraining order against Giorgia Meloni? You posted a photo of the Prime Minister.
And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and... There's Canada, etc. But to protect people, countries.
But guess what? But now these countries that was you were protecting, they're looking out for their own selves. They sound like they're doing pretty good. They don't need you, nigga. He talking like, yeah, y'all need us. Not anymore. Shit.
From, generally speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that.
I keep doing that.
Bitcoin exposure is just a few clicks away.
Donald Trump just had a...
See, I mean, I keep doing that. Let me get the scripture, man. I don't even know why I clicked on this here. My finger just got a mind of its own. I'm trying to click on this and click on that, and I click on the wrong thing. Daniel chapter 7, verse, what is it, 20? And of the 10 horns which were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And they talk about what was it? Pretty much the NATO, EU, but America's that one that's speaking that big shit, just talking a lot of it's pretty much great things, more than everybody else, saying that we did everything for y'all and we provided to you and all that other stuff.
It would be great, and Putin would be.
But all the other nations showing you they don't need you.
Both want to get it settled.
They don't need your equipment. They don't need your troops. They don't need you. They damn sure don't need your wine. Shit, your wine, your philosophy, all that shit. It's disgusting.
More than that, that's all I do in my life is deals. I know deals. And I think we're going to get it settled. Hopefully soon.
Then Donald Trump said, and look, sanctions off against Turkey. You don't sanction your friends. You sanction Turkey. The sanctions under a law called CATSA, which sanctions foreign countries if they procure weapons from Russia. That's why Turkey was sanctioned. It wasn't like a random thing. They bought Russian defense systems, and so they got the sanctions that banned them from F-35s and other things like that. And so you did it. It was your administration that did those sanctions. But Donald Trump's like, we're removing all sanctions, and Rubio's like, oh, we are? I just testified in Congress. We couldn't do that. Play this clip.
I can tell you, we're going to be taking the sanctions off. Okay? I don't want him to waste his time answering that question because we're working very closely with Marco Rubio, very famous man, great Secretary of State, and with Scott Bassett, and with Pete and everybody else. We're going to be taking the sanctions off. It's time to do that. Okay? We don't want to sanction friends. It's very simple. There's plenty of people we can sanction, and we are sanctioned. We don't want to sanction friends. And because of the president, we have a very good relationship with the new leader of Syria, and he's done an amazing job in a year.
Oh yeah, that guy. They're playing basketball. He's the former Al-Qaeda leader, shooting hoops at the White House ground, playing basketball on the basketball court on the White House. Wow, man.
Year and a half, he's pulled the whole country together, and I have a very great relationship with him. And somebody said, "Well, he's pretty rough."
Why does this nigga keep throwing up them diamonds? Throwing in a little hand gel. Look at him, look at him, look at him, look at him, look at him. What's up with all that? What's up with all that? I've been noticing him doing that shit so many times. He'll do it that way, and it's so obvious.
He's pulled the whole country together, and I have a very great relationship with him. And somebody said, "Well, he's pretty."
This shit's so obvious.
Rough to put him there. I approved him along with the president. We were the two that really wanted him, and he's done a great job. He's done a great job. He's pulled it together. Not an easy job.
Then a very confused Donald Trump has difficulty understanding the question when he was asked about this, because he was asked, there are concerns about the Russian missile defense system. That's what the basis of the sanctions against Turkey was, over the Russian defense systems. So are those going to be removed? Are they going to be replaced? That was the main issue. And Donald Trump, I don't know what I have no concerns about anything, he says. Which is interesting to say, I have no concerns about anything. And in the past 24 hours, this is what my next video is going to be on.
All right. He's more focused on his health and shit. Who gives a fuck about that? And there he go again, throwing up his gang signs.
A leader of a country that he's made a much better country, much more powerful country. And
I ain't gonna play no more of this. Let's get to the next one.
Ever since Donald...
I know these videos are like a day ago. I'm just now getting into it. What is this? No comeback now. Trump, Greenland, and blah, 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 blah. Might as well play that next.
Trump returned to the White House. He has ruffled the feathers of America's closest allies. First, it was tariffs on Europe's wine and cars. Then he threatened to invade Greenland. He didn't even spare Canada and called it the 51st state of the United States. Trump has bullied every nation the United States once called a strategic partner. But today he got a taste of his medicine. Canada and Europe executed a multi-billion-dollar passive-aggressive snub. They signed weapons deals worth nearly at least $90 billion. Canada is buying German submarines for $30 billion. This is Ottawa's largest weapons deal in history. What else? European nations have picked Sweden to supply airborne warning and control systems, also called AWACS. These deals were signed today in Turkey's capital, Ankara. And all of this happened before Trump's Air Force One even touched down for the NATO summit. Our next report tells you more.
The 36th NATO summit has officially kicked off in Turkey's capital, Ankara. The Transatlantic Security Alliance is meeting at a crucial time. On one hand, you have the Russia-Ukraine war that has now lasted longer than World War I. On the other, you have almost 30% of the world's energy stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. But instead of focusing on resolving problems with Russia
them reserves are running dry.
And Iran, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is busy fighting one of its own, the United States of America. NATO members are fed up with Trump's demands. First, the US president wanted all 32 allies to increase defense spending to 5%. Then, during the Iran war, Trump demanded loyalty and airbase access.
Yeah, this nigga here, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Instead of following Trump's commands, NATO members are carving their own path.
Yeah, they don't need America. They say, fuck you. If you want to buy shit from somebody, yeah, like these niggas, they buying, what in them, I don't know what kind of plane, reconnaissance planes? I don't know. Buying them from Saab, from Sweden, and whatever. Buying submarines from South Korea and whatever.
Canada has made the first move. Prime Minister Mark Carney has picked Germany for its future submarines. Ottawa will play
speaking of that, submarines, yeah.
$30 billion.
I think it was a video talking about 24 submarines. Where is that at? I don't even know if I added in here. I don't think I added in. Oh well.
12 warships, making it the largest defense deal in Canada's history.
Today, as part of our commitments to defend Canada and to support our allies, I'm pleased to announce that Canada has selected TKMS as the preferred supplier for Canada's patrol submarine project.
Canada will get the Type 212 submarines starting 2034. These are hybrid submarines that are powered by a diesel engine and lithium batteries. They can operate for a span of 40
not nuclear? No.
41 days in one go. Each submarine is armed with 14 torpedoes, anti-aircraft missiles and drones. Germany says the submarine deal will boost bilateral relations and strengthen Europe's ties with Canada.
With this decision, we will be sending a strong signal in support of transatlantic and European cooperation at the start of the summit. For this is truly a strategic initiative that will bind Canada, Germany and Norway together as partners in the North Atlantic region for
without America.
Decades to come.
As Turkey opened the 36th edition of the NATO summit in its capital Ankara, NATO announced some major defense deals. NATO Secretary General reaffirmed NATO's commitment to European manufacturers. First, he announced the creation of a strategic airlift fleet comprising of Airbus A400 aircraft. Then he announced the order for 10 airborne warning and control systems, or AWACS. That order has been awarded to Sweden.
Allies are also launching a new multinational project focused on the Airbus A400M. This is world-class strategic airlift capability. The A330 MRTT and the A440-400 will provide the alliance with two highly capable multinational fleets. For decades, NATO has relied on a fleet of E3 airborne warning and control systems that have been our eyes in the skies. They have been deployed from northern Norway to southern Turkey. They have served us well and continue to do so. But they are reaching the end of their lives. Today, several allies are announcing the joint procurement of up to 10 Saab Global Eye aircraft to replace them.
The Airbus A400 is a strategic airlifter. It is powered by 4 powerful propeller engines. The aircraft can airlift 37 tons of gear, including tanks, helicopters and troops. Without any cargo, the aircraft can fly more than 8,000 kilometers on a full tank. Even with its heaviest loadout, it can ferry for more than 3,000 kilometers without refueling. Europe already operates 130 of these aircrafts, and now they are buying more. But this is not the only strategic aircraft that European NATO members want. An order has been placed for 10 AWACS. These will be made by Sweden's Saab. The Global Eye is a flying command center. It is based on Canada's Bombardier jet. It can fly non-stop for 11 hours. It has an active electronically scanned array radar strapped to the aircraft's spine. and this radar can track multiple targets up to a range of 600 kilometers. The Global Eye is also equipped with advanced cameras and sensors for intelligence gathering. For nearly 3 decades, Europe depended on the American-made Boeing E-3 AWACS. But Trump's tantrums and threats have cast a shadow on America's relations with NATO allies. Today, Canada and European members announced multiple deals worth more than $90 billion. And these were announced when Trump had not even arrived for the NATO summit. Looks like somebody was not invited to the party. Europe and Canada are now turning away from the US and developing their own military-industrial complex. Clearly, in today's world of geopolitics, spite has become a powerful motivator.
The world doesn't fit.
Yep. Saying nobody don't want to deal with Babylon no more.
From homes to
Babylon's finished.
hospitals to business.
They're losing their friends, their allies.
Georgia's data centers are unlocking a smarter power grid for our communities. They're investing billions in new energy infrastructure, creating good-paying jobs, driving innovation, and building a better energy future. An independent...
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. You can also watch my videos ad-free on Substack and Patreon, where I post additional analysis and exclusive content. Today, we're discussing one of the most significant but underreported economic transformations taking place in Europe as we speak. Car factories that once produced civilian automobiles are increasingly manufacturing military equipment and drones destined for Ukraine. At the same time, NATO governments are fundamentally reshaping their economies by turning military spending into their industrial policy. They're turning their economies into war economies, in other words. Is Europe preparing for a full-scale war that it cannot win because the chances are very high that it will go nuclear? Well, the writing is on the wall, and I will discuss this further in my upcoming interviews with experts. So the story is about much more than just larger military budgets, let's face it. This represents one of the most profound reorganizations of European industry since the end of the Cold War, and arguably the most significant since the Second World War. What began as an emergency response to the war in Ukraine is now increasingly becoming a long-term economic strategy with far-reaching consequences for manufacturing, for public finances, technological development, and global trade. Now, for many decades, of course, Europe's industrial success rested on 3 pillars, such as affordable energy, export-oriented manufacturing, and relatively modest military spending. Germany built a global reputation for automobiles and advanced engineering. France excelled in aerospace and luxury manufacturing. Italy specialized in high-value industrial production, while much of Central and Eastern Europe became deeply integrated into Europe's highly efficient automotive supply chains. Well, this model helped transform Europe into one of the world's largest manufacturing centers. However, that model no longer exists. European governments are aggressively increasing military expenditures to replenish depleted stockpiles and to support Zelensky's regime while refusing to resolve the conflict diplomatically. Initially, these higher military budgets were viewed as temporary measures that are designed to address an immediate security crisis. 4 years later, policymakers increasingly see military investment as a permanent pillar of economic strategy rather than simply an emergency response. It is no wonder then that the EU leaders stated that the year 2030 is the year of NATO and Russia confrontation. So they are actively preparing for 2030. NATO summit in July of 2026 in Turkey perfectly illustrates the economic shift toward war economy. While military readiness remains a central topic, leaders are also focusing on expanding industrial production capacity, on strengthening military supply chains, coordinating procurement among allies, and encouraging long-term investment in military manufacturing. The objective extends beyond simply buying more weapons. NATO members are seeking to build the industrial capacity that is necessary to sustain large-scale production for many years while reducing dependence on external suppliers. Hopefully, the European population is aware of this, since having equipment is good, but the EU needs manpower to operate that military equipment that it is actively building. One of the clearest examples of this new strategy can be found in Europe's automobile industry. The sector has experienced several difficult years as demand for electric vehicles has slowed across many markets, and Chinese automakers have become increasingly competitive. So production costs have also risen due to higher energy prices, and several manufacturers have announced layoffs.
Closing plants, yeah. Volkswagen, oh, what did they say, 100,000, I think, layoffs for Volkswagen?
Production cuts or factory closures. I've
that too, factory closures.
Reported on this before here on my channel. These developments have left portions of Europe's industrial capacity underutilized. And rather than invest in new auto engineering technologies, in EV technologies, European governments and the military industrial complex have begun exploring how existing manufacturing capacities and facilities can be repurposed for military purposes. Automobile factories already possess many of the capabilities that are required for modern military manufacturing, including precision engineering, automated assembly lines, robotics, robotics, quality control systems, advanced electronics integration, and highly skilled technical workers. These same capabilities can be adapted to produce military vehicles, drone components, batteries, sensors, communications equipment, and
weapons of warfare. Instead of building cars and EV vehicles, you can build a war machine, a fleet of war machines.
Other advanced military technologies. This transformation is most visible in drone manufacturing.
Yeah, what was it? You thinking a plant like Volkswagen, the plant is closed? Man, please, they ain't closed. They just closed from making cars. They ain't not gonna be closed from making shit like this.
The war in Ukraine has demonstrated that inexpensive drones have changed the course of modern warfare. Drones are now used for reconnaissance, surveillance, artillery targeting, logistics, intelligence gathering, electronic warfare, and even precision strikes. Ukraine reportedly consumes thousands of drones every single month, creating an unprecedented demand that requires industrial-scale manufacturing rather than small workshops or specialized military facilities. Now, I'm writing an entire article on the partnership between Palantir and Zelensky's regime. It's going to be posted on my Substack and Patreon here in the coming days. If you're interested, make sure that you stay.
They put 100,000 people on one ark and gave me a bed on deck 943. No elevator, only ladders. People fell every night. I climbed down for breakfast.
Stay tuned and check it out once it's published. So this is how the war in Ukraine is used as a business opportunity by European elites. Of course, there's much more to this, but we will leave that for another video. To meet the extraordinary demand, European military companies are increasingly partnering with automotive suppliers, with electronics manufacturers, with engineering firms, and battery producers. Companies that once specialized exclusively in civilian manufacturing are now contributing components, software, sensors, batteries, communication systems, navigation equipment, and assembly expertise to Europe's rapidly expanding military-industrial base. Several European governments are also providing financial incentives, subsidies, and investment support to encourage companies to convert portions of their production capacity toward military manufacturing. This represents a profound shift in economic...
I might as well go ahead and read this scripture instead of waiting so long. Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Because, like I said, they're converting stuff that's like for, consumers, like cars, EVs, and they converting this shit, that stuff like that, into stuff that's for military. And they ain't studying, they getting ready for war. The hell with you consumers. They about to stop people from driving anyway. There ain't gonna be no driving. Gas and diesel gonna be expensive. Shit. People gonna be out of work, out of a job. There ain't gonna be no reason to drive anywhere to get in. Yeah, there ain't gonna be no reason to drive. They gonna probably banning gasoline cars soon. Anyway, not probably, they will be. They've been working on that. Joel chapter 3 verse 9, proclaim me among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat their plowshares and the swords and their pruning hooks and the spears. Yeah, like this is gardening tools, but like say they turning, hold on one second. God damn. I can't talk through all that damn ringtone music. Turn this shit off. Anyway, where I was at? Oh yeah, like here talking about plowshares and the swords and their pruning hooks and the spears, turning garden tools into weapons of warfare. They turning their EV cars, they little friendly little Volkswagen vehicles and whatever else. They stop production on that and turn them into the war trucks and drones and such. Anything. Anyway, yeah, where I left off at. Plowshares into gardening. Plowshares and the swords and their pruning hooks and the spears. Let the weak say I am strong. Yeah.
Philosophy. Traditionally, industrial policy focused on sectors such as renewable energy, transportation, semiconductors, digital infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, and green technologies. Well, today, military manufacturing is increasingly being viewed as another strategic industry that deserves substantial public investment and long-term government support. Military spending is no longer viewed solely as a security expense. It is increasingly becoming a tool of economic policy across Europe. Needless to say, the strategy is short-lived and arguably unwise at best for a variety of reasons. For one, a wider confrontation runs a high risk of becoming uncontrolled and actually spinning out of control and into a nuclear exchange. Additionally, military production does not generate the same long-term productivity gains as investments in education, in healthcare, transportation infrastructure, civilian scientific research, and commercial innovation. Every euro allocated toward expanding weapons production is a euro unavailable for other public priorities. European governments already face aging populations, rising healthcare expenditures, slowing economic growth, and substantial public debt. Increasing military budgets, therefore, creates increasingly difficult fiscal trade-offs. Another concern involves industrial dependence. If factories become increasingly reliant on government military industrial contracts, their long-term profitability may depend more on a sustained military spending than on competitive civilian markets. Economists sometimes describe this phenomenon as the emergence of a military industrial ecosystem, in which public procurement becomes a permanent driver of industrial activity. This raises important political questions. Will governments continue supporting elevated military spending if geopolitical tensions eventually diminish? Will they facilitate negotiations and diplomatic solutions to conflicts? Or will military production become permanently embedded within Europe's economic structure? As Europe expands domestic arms production, governments are reorganizing supply chains to prioritize sourcing critical minerals, semiconductors, electronics, batteries, advanced machinery, and other strategic components from allied countries. The United States has adopted similar policies, by the way, through major semiconductor investments and industrial subsidies, while China continues pursuing extensive state-directed industrial strategies. Europe is now increasingly joining this broader global trend. The result is a world economy that is becoming progressively fragmented along geopolitical lines and a race toward World War III. Military manufacturing has therefore become both a consequence of this geo-economic competition and a force that
the race to World War III. We're in World War III.
Accelerates it.
But it's going to elevate more.
The implications extend well beyond the current conflict in Ukraine, of course. Europe is no longer treating war solely as a security issue. It is treating military expenditures as economic strategy. And that represents one of the defining geo-economic transformations of the 21st century. The question is no longer whether Europe's economy is changing. The real question is how permanent this transformation will ultimately become. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic in the comments below. If you're in Europe, I would love...
All right. When they getting ready for war, and they ain't going to need America. Europe ain't gonna need America help. You know, really, America gonna need. Oh yeah, America was crying out for Europe to help them. Heck yeah, remember when they first fighting against Iran? Them niggas like, y'all need to help us. They said, no, you got it, nigga. You strong. You Americans.
The US military says it's hit dozens of targets in Iran. The latest round of strikes follows recent attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media say explosions were heard in the port city of Sirik, in Bandar Abbas, and on Keshem Island. Several people have reportedly been injured. Iran's top joint military command vowed a, quote, crushing response to those US attacks. US Central Command says the strikes were in response to Iranian attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, in a statement, CENTCOM says the US forces completed a new round of offensive strikes, hitting more than 80 targets with precision munitions, as an immediate response to Iran's latest attacks on commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. They struck Iranian air defense systems, command and control networks, coastal radar sites, anti-ship missile capabilities, and more than 60 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps small boats in and near the strait, to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking international commerce flowing through the international trade corridor. Well, air raid sirens have been heard in Bahrain and Kuwait after those US strikes. The Kuwaiti army says its air defenses have been confronting missile and drone attacks, and Bahrain's interior ministry has urged the public to remain calm and to go to the nearest safe place. Well, the US attacks on Iran began shortly after Washington revoked a waiver that allowed Iran to sell its oil under the interim peace agreement. The decision by the Treasury Department followed attacks on 3 tankers transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign ministry says it holds the US government responsible for what it calls repeated violations of the Memorandum of Understanding on ending the war. Under the agreement reached in Switzerland last month, the US issued a waiver on Iranian oil exports that were meant to last until next month. Al Jazeera's Raisal Serdar joins us live now from the Iranian capital. Raisal, so talk us through what more Iranian officials have been saying about these latest US attacks.
Well, indeed, this latest attack is the largest since there has been a ceasefire.
You know, they back fighting them. Yeah, them small hatters say, hey, y'all gotta keep on fighting them. You know, actually, it's the Lord. They got these niggas to continue fighting. Because the Lord, hey, how about Shemal Shah controlling these niggas? All these nations. Like, nah, y'all can take a break. The only time they taking a break is when they have to go and strategize and play catch up with they weapons and such, trying to build their weapons up. Then go back to war. The break time is over. No damn, there ain't gonna be no ceasefire and shit.
Agreed in the month of April, and now the chief negotiator of Iran and also the Speaker of the Parliament, Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf, simply saying that major memorandum of understanding violations by the United States, so violating Iranian adjustments in the Strait of Hormuz, persistent threats of further strikes, the reinstating oil sanctions, and attacks on the southern Iran, and also Israel's continued aggression in Lebanon. And he's warning, saying that the era of bullying and extortion is over. This will lead nowhere, and Iran will not fall. So this is a statement coming from the chief negotiator of Iran. And also Kazem Gharibabadi, who is the deputy foreign minister, but the head of Iranian technical team in negotiations, he's also saying that the memorandum of understanding is being violated by the United States, but particularly he is referring to Article 10 about the oil sanctions being lifted. So what the Iranians are saying that the city of Sirik was hit, that's important because it looks over the Strait of Hormuz, and according to Iranian officials, there are some people injured at a commercial port. At least 6 locations in Sirik were hit, and then in Qashm Island, 7 locations, and then in Bandar Abbas, 10 locations. And after that, so the IRGC is also just released a statement saying that in response to the American attacks, IRGC have struck 85 locations that belongs to the U.S. Army across the region.
All right, anyway, let's get to the next video. Crude oil costs 70. Shit, I want it to be 150 or that $200 damn. I remember they was talking about that shit. But something's gonna happen. They're gonna make that shit jump up. It may be looking good for, hey man, it come up out of nowhere, but it may be looking good right now. Man, the time gonna come when it's gonna blow up, and price is gonna shoot up to $200 a barrel. And I'm hoping that comes. Man, I'm tired. Next video. Tools. Man, what the fuck? Oh my god, now this shit acting like it's
target last night.
Now it finally loads up.
If we need to, on your order, Mr. President, we will hit even more and even deeper, because that's the consequence.
And we may put down the blockade. We may put it back.
You hit more and deeper, but y'all niggas gonna lose more and lose deeper. Shit. Y'all already lost so much. Y'all niggas just gotta keep on going. But them small hat niggas say, no, actually the Lord. I keep those small hats on the low level. Amalek want y'all to keep on going, but Yahweh Shemal Shah want all y'all niggas to keep on doing what y'all doing. Keep going to war. Escalate this shit.
Back the blockade. And it'll only be a blockade for Iran. Anybody else can have whatever they want.
We're not attacking at the highest level. The highest level of the bridges, they're
electric, yeah, that grid, electricity. Oh man, desalination plants. It says right here. So you want to get down, that's some goddamn, yeah, that's part of war, but it's kind of fucked up though. But wait, you go after this shit, you think that Iran is gonna, you think they're gonna be saying, okay, cool, we just gonna let you do that? No, they gonna hit y'all niggas too. I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know. I know these Americans, whoever going to cut off the power anyway. Hell yeah, so they can implement this new world order and bring out them chip implants. Hell, America, instead of Iran being a threat to America's electricity, hell, America's electricity power grid is a threat to their own government. Their own government is a threat to their own power grid. They'll either shut that shit off or don't even, whatever.
which we can knock down. I would say in one day we knock down every single bridge.
This nigga said that shit before, but did they do that? No, they didn't.
In Iran, there's not a thing they can do about it.
They whooping your ass. They doing something about that.
Electric.
They lost hundreds of billions of military equipment, planes, jets, helicopters, and a lot of troops died. Oh, they don't give a fuck about that. That's for sure.
Manufacturing facilities, right? Their electric plants where they make their electricity in there. We will, if we have to, we'll take them out. I don't want to do.
He don't want to. It's just like what they doing over in Cuba. Yeah, they're smothering Jake over there in Cuba.
Do that, but if we have to, we'll take them out. They have desalinization plants. We'll take them out if we have to. I hate to do that. That's probably the one I would like not to do least.
Nigga say he hate to, but whatever. You gonna do it. You love it.
We attacked Carg Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil, because maybe we'll take over.
Whatever happened to taking that over? They were talking about that shit for months. And that's it.
Carg Island.
And Trump goes on.
Big talk. Yeah, a whole lot of talk.
Say that there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. Nothing. He says they're going to hammer them harder this time. And as a reminder, it was just about 3 weeks ago when Trump went on video and told the whole world that we're going to have a deal done tomorrow. And thank God, because we're like 4 weeks away from disaster. Well, now,
Yeah,
we're
I mean, what happened to that? Shit. By the end, I'll say sometime, probably, since 4th of July and all that shit, people are back on track, and the hangovers going away, and I don't know, the partying is out of their system for the moment. Then here comes disaster.
Then like a
when all of a sudden the prices start to shoot up or do something's gonna happen.
week away from that checkpoint that he himself called, and now the bombs are raining back down. Everyone that keeps taking the bait, the carrot on the stick, that there's going to be a deal worked out tomorrow, are foolish and have been fools. This whole time, everything has been backed up and cut off. And Trump has even come out and ordered gas stations to lower prices to $2.50 and other places to manipulate their prices to where he wants them. It's a setup, meaning that it's not real. And that when it all snaps back to where it should be, it's going to be devastating. You are literally living under an illusion right now. The rest of the world, you can see what's happening. The supplies are not getting there. They're duking it out in the gas stations for gas. They're duking it out in the grocery store.
Oh yeah, in Russia. Hold on, let me play that back.
Snaps back. It's a setup, meaning that it's not real. And that when it all snaps back to where it should be, it's going to be devastating. You are literally living under an illusion right now. The rest of the world, you can see what's happening. The supplies are not getting there. They're duking it out in...
Yeah, they duking it out in Russia. I don't know about these other countries, but I know the footage they showed of Russia, they got Edomite men beating up on one another, and you got Edomite men beating up on Edomite women. Damn.
The gas stations for gas, they're duking it out in the grocery stores. And on top of it, it seems like weather warfare being rolled out on the masses as well. But this fight is going to continue. They say for a good time from here. There's no end in sight. He just said they may take Clark Island. I'm going to tell you that all of this was part of the plan all along. He even made these
all this leading to that chip implant, the mark of the beast.
Outlandish comments that he should have struck the funeral. He could have got them all in one spot at one time, but of course, he could have murdered tens of thousands of people in the process, innocent people, which he acts like he cares about, but to me, they don't give a dang. Okay? You're talking about hitting electrical now. You're about to hit their desalination plants. Oh, I don't want to. Oh, but he will. They will. And this is where the people are going to suffer and where this is going to turn into a humanitarian crisis.
Well, hell, I mean... whatever.
That has not been seen.
We don't understand. It's all in the Bible, man. It's going to be a lot of suffering, great death, destruction. Yeah.
Yet. So, a heads up, here we go. I would get ready for blowback. Everyone's sleeping on this. You either get caught slipping, or you have a plan.
Yeah, you need to be seeking Yahweh Shema Shah, repenting. And that's the only plan you got. Everything else can be dead last, but you want to try to get your mind and your spirit in order with the Yahweh Shema Shah, that's for sure. What I got? Let me read Ephesians chapter 5 verse 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Yeah, pay attention to what's going on, because a lot of things are happening, man. And let me get another one too. Damn, I'm trying to think, what is it? Matthew chapter 24 verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, World War III, class wars, civil wars, race wars is all building up. And there shall be famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. And there's a lot of calamities happening now, but it's going to get even worse, intensify even more. All these are beginning of sorrows, and it's going to be all over the world. So better be ready for it, spiritually and mentally. I hope I am. I hope I will be whenever that day comes. So you won't be looking dumb when it does happen. But that's all I got. Seek the Lord by seeking his prophets and take heed of what to say and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah by praying Yahweh Shema Shah, praising Yahweh Shema Shah, worshiping Yahweh Shema Shah, fearing Yahweh Shema Shah, and repenting Yahweh Shema Shah. To all the men out there pushing this truth and nothing but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Shema Shah. Keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep your faith and trust on Yahweh Shema Shah, and stay humble. And for you few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust on Yahweh Shema Shah. Stay humble, stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order Yahweh Shema Shah. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Shalom.